Okay, hi everyone. I'm going to share a few examples from the psychology domain that are using single case research designs or other designs that could be done using single case research design. So I'll give you a few examples. I was searching in the literature to see if I could maybe just help people brainstorm ideas or just know that the possibilities are just really just as open-ended as they are for special education faculty and researchers. Okay, here we go. So I have a few studies. The first one, the researchers called it the cool, not cool behavior game. So the basic setup is that there was remote coaching via telehealth or online coaching for 3 parents. The parents decided specifically on a social skill or multiple social skills to focus on for their adolescent who had autism spectrum disorder. This is the abstract for the article, and I'm going to just go through it just because I think it's helpful to kind of do that. So the abstract says adolescents with ASD often experience challenges with social skill interactions that may affect their quality of life. Given that parents are often the most frequent and constant presence in their child's life, parents serve a vital role in their child's social and behavioral development. For this reason, children may substantially benefit from effective and efficient parent-implemented behavior intervention to teach social skills. Using a multiple baseline design, the cool versus not cool, which they abbreviate as CNC for cool versus not cool, behavior intervention was taught via telehealth to 3 parents of adolescent males with ASD. Parents then subsequently implemented the CNC intervention to teach parent-selected social skills to their children. For all 3 parent adolescent dyads, the CNC behavior game was implemented with fidelity by parents, and adolescents showed intervention gains. Findings were maintained and generalized during probes, and social validity outcomes were reported by both parents and adolescents. Okay, so let's take a look and see what that data looked like. First of all, it does get a little bit more complex, and that is that the dependent variables for parents were different than the dependent variables for students. So for parents, what they did was they focused on the percentage of intervention elements that were correctly implemented, and they had done a task analysis that was 25 steps for parent training. Then the dependent variable was the percentage of intervention elements that were correctly implemented. Okay, and then for adolescents, the dependent variable was what they actually did. There was a different task analysis with 9 steps for each adolescent. Okay, so kind of gets tedious. Basically, they're looking at both parents and students, 2 different levels of dependent variables. And if anyone wants to actually see this article, I'll go back and actually produce it so that you can take a closer look. The authors did have supplemental materials that show the actual task analyses that they developed. But we're just focusing on the bigger picture here and moving on to the graph. Okay, so with this figure, actually I should call it a figure, not a graph. What we see is data points that are plotted for adolescents with the open circle. And so the data points are here, but then they also have data points for parents that are closed circles. And this is a complicated but often occurring display where whenever there's a overlapping data point, we're showing closed and open. So it looks like you can see from the the figure here, baseline was low for both parents and adolescents with respect to Charlie. And then after the introduction of the cool, not cool intervention, then you see improvement in both parents and adolescents, as well as there was a generalization and follow-up probe. And this was repeated for 2 other students in this graph. So pretty good study there. Let's move on to something else. Okay, study number 2 was referred to as a family in crisis. There was a clinician implementing the intervention as opposed to the parents because the problem was there was an adolescent with ASD who was aggressive and there was an infant sibling in the home. So there was a real need to intervene quickly with this situation. The design was referred to as a non-concurrent multiple baseline design across behaviors. And non-concurrent really means that the data phases don't line up in real time. And it's seen as potentially less rigorous, but given the fact that they needed to move quickly, it really makes sense. You know, so there was a real need here. So this is the actual abstract. The full title is Family in Crisis, Replacing the Aggressive Behavior of a Child with Autism Toward an Infant Sibling. I don't think I'm going to read the entire abstract this time, but I'm going to move on and look at the next study. Third study was, I'm referring to it as feasible coaching supports, where the coaching was to improve teachers who are struggling in terms of classroom management. So this was a multiple baseline design across teachers. And in this case, I'm going to go through it a little bit more slowly because it's a little bit different. So the focus is on feasible coaching supports to promote teachers' classroom management in high-need setting, an experimental single-case design study. So this is where we're looking at multiple baseline design across teachers. I think I neglected to show you the graph, but it's just a general idea. So moving on to the fourth one that I had found last week. This one is referred to as positive greetings at the door. And this one caught my attention because I think someone in our session had talked about how you could have an intervention where you're greeting kids as they come in the room. And this is exactly the same thing. And this is preventing problem behaviors, which has also been referred to as a PBIS strategy by some people. And PBIS is something that we could talk about more, but skipping that over here, this is positive greetings at the door. So in this study, they also had a nice description of the social validity where they showed that the intervention was valued by the teachers. Now, technically, I'm going to show you the abstract. They didn't do this through single case research design, but it definitely could be done through single case design. So here is the abstract. So it's seen as the title, I'll just read it, Positive Greetings at the Door, Evaluation of a Low Cost, High Yield, Proactive Classroom Management Strategy. So the abstract says that externalizing behavior is a significant concern among teachers. Teachers could benefit from incorporating proactive strategies to prevent problem behaviors, promote academic engagements as students transition into the classroom learning environment. So skimming here a little bit, they had an experimental investigation of this positive greetings at the door strategy. Students were in middle school in America. That would be probably children age 12 and 13 or 11, 12, and 13. commonly, and the teachers were nominated by the principals. The principals realized that they had a lot of struggling teachers, and the study was with a random assignment to either a control group or this special group. And then they did their observations and things like that. So you could do it. If you have a lot of money and funding, you could definitely do a randomized controlled trial, but you could do this with single case research design as well. For example, multiple baseline design. Okay, so I think I'm wrapping up. In summary, this same methodology that we're focusing on in our time together on Fridays can be used by psychologists to work with parents, teachers, and students. Psychologists could readily use interventions that have been tested in group research design studies and see if they work in local contexts here in Ho Chi Minh City using single case research design methodology. Hopefully that was helpful and not too quickly presented. So thank you. Talk to everybody on Friday. Okay.